not gonna say that publicly, holy shit. I'm gonna edit that out before I cop a whole bunch of crap. Please, before we get started, I'm going to make this very clear. This is not financial advice. I am literally just talking about different ways that I have personally done, and I've seen people make money through real estate, or people are currently making money through real estate. By no means is this financial advice. I am not a financial planner, and I'm going to make that very clear going forward in this video. G'day guys, welcome back to another episode of The Friday Show. So, this week I'm actually going to be talking to you about the different ways to make money using real estate. I want to talk about some of the more popular methods, some of the methods that I've encountered, and some ones that I've seen based on research. I've got my little notebook here. There's about 14 different methods that I've identified. Now, all of these can depend based on where you live in the world. There obviously would be different strategies, different laws, different exemptions to each one of these different methods. It's going to be just a brief overlook of everything, and then over the coming weeks, I'm actually going to break down each individual ones. Some of them I'll group together because they're very similar, but overall, I'm going to be covering a list of the different types of methods and then a more in-depth deep dive using examples of real-life people who've used these particular methods to make it big or make money or do any of that sort of stuff. Hopefully, I might even be able to get some of the people out there that I know of who have used these methods to comment or at least give me some sort of insight, maybe even reach out and make a personal connection with them. So, first things that come to mind. When you think about real estate and how to make money from real estate, one of the most basic and most widely used methods is buying an investment property. Now, I'm excluding the methods of owning your own home and things like that. There's definitely tax exemptions that can really come into play and make you money through the 6-year rule in Australia. But that's something I'm going to cover later on in a different video. Basically, you buy a property, you hold it, you rent it out. Let somebody else hopefully pay for the mortgage. Best one. I'm not going to say that publicly, holy shit. I'm going to edit that out before I cop a whole bunch of crap. But you buy an investment property, you rent it out to somebody, they help cover the cost of the mortgage while you take over the fees and land ownership costs and things like that as well. So this is how we did it in our family. We bought a house, we waited for a while. As the value of the home rose over time, we used the equity to then go buy a second home, which is an investment property. We put on rent. While that one started to pay off the principal a little bit, and then we made extra payments on that one as well to help lower the payments on that one. And then we used that to leverage and bought another one, and then we leveraged that to buy another one. But we reached a maximum of about 3. Whereas I know investors personally who've owned 50 plus properties. I've met people who've owned much more than that. There are people out there who own thousands, but that's typically corporations who own thousands, not individual investors. This is something I really need Australians to understand, is there are not many individuals who own hundreds and thousands of properties. Very, very select few. Typically, it is corporations or trust funds or something like that where it's a combined effort from a multitude of different people. Very few single individuals own a huge amount of property. It's very hard to do and very difficult to pull off if you don't have the right strategy from the beginning. Like if you were trying to build a property portfolio starting at 60 years of age, you're not going to get that far unless you have a huge amount of capital. Versus somebody who's 18 and has a long time to pay off loans and actually build a serviceability and take the right steps at the right time. So that's one of the main ways that people have built wealth over time, is to buy and hold. It's nice and simple. One of the other ways you can make money through real estate is through flipping properties. So you buy a home that's in a worse for wear shape. You buy it, you fix it up a little bit, you make some cosmetic changes, make some structural changes depending on your skill, depending on how much money you have for the renovations. You buy the old home, you make it better, and then whatever appreciated value is in there in between, you can either sell it for a profit or you can use the extra equity in there to then go buy another one or buy your next project. Rent it out for a higher price point since now it's a nicer home. So that's another strategy that people use. One of the other methods that I've seen personally do off lately, especially during the COVID pandemic boom, was the land acquisition and subdivision and new construction method. So they would buy a block of land or buy an old home on a big block of land or buy a big block of land and divide it into smaller sections. Now that is a really good way to go about things as well, because one, it allows for more housing to be built, which is right now in Australia we're in a massive shortage of housing, so we need to have more land available for people to build on. Having smaller houses and smaller land, well, that's a lot more manageable for a lot of people nowadays, but some people still prefer land, and you can by all means go and do that as well. There are places out there so you can still get acreage development. So one of the things that I used to do in Adelaide, we would buy old farms or a section of an old farm, we would divide it up as build it into a new suburb or a new precinct with 14, 15 new homes. Or if you really have a large scale project, you can go and build out, a couple of hundred homes, but then you have to factor in civil engineering, you have to factor in amenities, you have to factor in a multitude of different... That goes into the development space, which I'll talk about, and that's one of the other ways to make money as well. The other one is through buying rental properties. So you can actually buy a portfolio of existing rent rolls. So a rent roll is essentially a company who's built up a management of different properties. So somebody else owns, different investors own the properties, and you manage those properties for them. Now, there are real estate companies who sell managements all the time. So you can actually go buy a management, and then you start looking after the management of those properties, and use that revenue to, help feed your family. It can be quite a lucrative and profitable venture as well. However, what you have to be mindful of is if you don't manage those properties, they can go like that. So even if you spend $100,000 buying that rent roll, you can lose them very rapidly if you don't know what you're doing, or if you don't manage them properly, or if you don't look after and service your landlords properly. The other method I've noticed of late, especially not as much in Australia, but I believe it's a lot bigger in the US, is wholesaling and contract flips. So somebody would buy a property under value, and then within a 30-day time turnaround, flip it and sell it to somebody else for a profit. So they don't actually end up taking ownership of the home in the end. They just buy it and hold the contract and on-sell that contract to somebody else. It's called an on-sale in Australia. I've been involved in that sort of trade as well, where somebody's managed to snag something for an absolute bargain, about $300,000 below market value. I don't know how they managed to do that, but they did. They came to me and went, "Arhan, you need to flip it and move on." Within 30 days, we got the contract flip. At market value, they made about $250,000 in profit in under 30 days. And obviously, I charged my fees, but I had the buyers for them to be able to pull that off within a 30-day period as well. So this is where having agents who have a good buyers database really comes into handy. I've also helped people do this with homes in a short period of time as well. So within I always try to tell people wait for that 12 months so that you don't pay as much capital gains. That's just my advice. Again, none of this is financial advice. I'm just talking about the different ways you can make money through real estate. One of the other methods that I've seen is approvals. Sometimes what I've also seen happen, and I've actually been involved in this transaction, is somebody has gone and bought that acreage, or 4 or 5 acres of land. They've gone the approvals to now divide it up into smaller blocks. They don't actually do the project. They sell the project as somebody else who's got a connection with civil engineering, or somebody who wants to take on the profit. So they take their cut, and then somebody else can then take on the project and make their cut from it. Typically, you can make any one of the projects that I was involved in, we acquired the land for about $1 million. We then got it pushed through approvals and through council approvals, had about a 15 block division on there. After the 15 blocks, the land valuation alone, now that was rezoned, was about $2.5 million. The cost of actually doing the civil engineering on it was about $600,000, and then I think it was $200,000 for the actual divisions of the land and subdivision and council fees and all those sort of things. So it required about another $800,000 spend. So it was a $1 million purchase. It was a $800,000 outlay. But if you actually went up and cut up the blocks and got all the blocks ready for sale, the profit margins were even higher. It was about 3.3 million. That process takes a lot longer. But if they just sold it with the approval, so with the drawings and approval in place, they made an immediate $1.4 million in return in probably about, I'd say it was about 3 weeks. So that's a fantastic way to do it. Aside from that, there's the actual development side, which I just mentioned. You actually go up and get the blocks cut up, you get it all ready, you actually sell them individual blocks, and then you build new construction on those blocks, and then you actually have the houses that are actually sold as new houses, new construction houses, so that the family can just move in and start living. Now, if you want a low risk investment into real estate, you don't have a lot of money to get started with, one of the other things that have come out of lately is real estate investment trusts, which is REITs. Now, it's basically like a stock trade. It's where there's a collection of properties, or somebody has built up a collection of properties and you're investing in that, and you're getting the profits from there as a dividend payout based on the rent it collects and things like that as well. Now, aside from that, there's electronically traded funds like Vanguard and things like that. They offer a real estate REIT as well, where they hold a collection of properties, or they're tracking the housing market or something like that. So it depends on which ETF you go with. So each one of them is different. Please do your own research before you invest any money into the stock market, because it's up to you. It's your decision on how you do things. I have personally invested in ETFs, and just a long-term investment. It's just going to sit there, and I'm going to keep putting money into that on a short-term basis. That builds up over a long period of time. Aside from that, my company, eXp Realty, they are a real estate company. So you can actually invest in actual real estate companies who are traded on the NASDAQ. So you can buy shares or stock of that company. I personally own EXP stock because I work with EXP. I love the company. It also rewards agents, but that's a different story. I get shares in the company from just transacting, from selling property. So that's one other way. So the electronically traded funds, you can buy shares in companies as well, or you can be a part of a REIG, which is a real estate investment group. A real estate investment group is a group of people who come together and put money together to basically buy multiple properties, whether it's multiple single-family homes, multiple family homes, small apartment complexes, units, all that sort of things. Now, aside from that, you also have self-managed super funds. So that's where in Australia, I don't know what the equivalent in the US might be. It might be 401ks or something like that. But in Australia, you can use your super to purchase property. So you can use, if you have around $250,000 as a minimum in your super and have a self-managed super fund set up, you can use the money in your super to go buy investment properties. Caveat is you cannot live in those properties. They can only be for investment purposes, and that's it. If you're 19, 20, 30, you build that portfolio up, you buy money through your super. By the time you're 60, 70, you might have like 3, 4, 5, 10 properties paid off, because they're investment properties, they're 100% investment. So you can cash out at the end big time and get some money out of that and live a pretty comfortable life afterward. One of the other things that I've found off lately was a mortgage investment corp. So a mortgage investment corp, I don't think it's in Australia. I think this is a US specific one. But basically, you can go buy mortgage notes. I'm not sure how the mortgage investment corps work too well. They're not an Australian thing, they're a US thing. I want to do more research into that, and I'll actually add more information on that one in a separate video altogether. I'll do a proper covering of that. And one of the other things that I've personally done is refinancing your own mortgages. So that actually helps build in a bit of cash flow for your own properties. This is by far one of the most underrated ways to make money in real estate, which is to actually, if you own a home or you own multiple investment properties, get a refinance every couple of years, get some cash back out of it, get some cash flow out of it. Because if it's at a higher rate, you might be able to refinance it for a better rate. If you've got multiple properties, a bank might be more incentivized to give you a lower rate to win your business. So refinancing to improve cash flow is definitely another option that you can use. Now, aside from that, one of the newest trends in real estate to make money is crowdfunding. They're actually doing crowdfunding developments at the moment, where a developer can put a plan together. So like what I was saying previously, they buy a block of land, they put it through developmental approvals, get it all ready, and the crowd can then fund the actual project. They will fund the whole project, and once the money is there, the project gets completed. Any profits that are made from the project, depending on how much you invested, you might get that percentage back, plus whatever interest or things that you might collect. That's essentially how that works. Now again, please don't take this as investment advice. Do your own research before everything. I'm just here to give you an idea of how you can make money through real estate. But the most basic way, if you want to make money through real estate, you can become a selling agent or a buying agent. Now, I'm a real estate agent. I sell property and I take a commission of the profits. Because if I help somebody market and sell their home better, I get paid for that. So you can be a selling agent or a buyer's agent. So I help people sell property. I also help people buy property. So depending on which side of the coin you're on, you can do either or. Now, those are just some of the ways you can make money through real estate. But as far as I'm aware, that's all that you can really do with real estate. So there's about 13, 14 different methods that you can use that, from low capital, low investment to high capital, high yield. So it depends on how much money you have to invest in real estate. It depends on how much time you want to spend actually managing and looking after and working on this. But like with any investments that you make, do your research, make sure the numbers and the risk tolerance is right for you. Speak to a financial consultant if you need to. I can always advise on real estate deals. As an agent, I can give you my opinion on things, but at the end of the day, it's your decision on how to make things. I've made money through real estate previously before, over the last few years, and my family has as well. We've done pretty well over the last 10 years. I know plenty of people who've done it astronomically well through real estate. And as the weeks go on, I'm going to give you a more in-depth look at each one of these methods that I've outlined in this video, where we talk about real life examples. So please follow along every Friday. I'm going to be talking more and more about real estate every week, and give you guys tips and tricks on how to make money from real estate. Alright guys, hope you like this video. Please subscribe down below. It really helps the channel out and helps me to know that you're actually watching. Hopefully you learned something from here. You might have learned about a new way of making money through real estate that you might not have previously thought about. If you know of any other ways to make money through real estate that you feel I haven't covered, please let me know in the comments below, and I'm more than happy to have a chat about this, because if there's more information to be learned, I am all for it. I want to gain more and more knowledge. Alright guys, Ironheart signing off for now, and I'll see you next week.